In the year 1997, the future is in chaos and turmoil. Mankind is on the brink of extinction. Brave survivors band together and build a time displacement apparatus to receive a signal from a parallel future. This transmission is the Vundacast.
Welcome to the Vundacast, the official podcast of Vundacast.com, the home of UFF8 coverage. Unnamed Footage Festival 8 is upon us, and I am your host, Steven. I have a film in the festival this year, Toy Vlog Hunt, and I am so happy today to have the director, Zeddy Chevron, on to talk about their short film Trial.doc. How are you doing, Zeddy?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
What a pleasure to have you today. This is so exciting. I haven't seen all of the films in the film festival, but of the ones that I have seen, this one really took my breath away. And I really had to take a double take to my wife Danny, and I was like, shit, this is my film is, a comedy horror, and your film is very much like a therapy horror movie. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about getting selected for Unnamed Footage Festival?
It's fantastic. I'm over the moon about it. I was recommended to look into UFF this last year because my good friend and uh collaborator Evan Churchill, he had his film Beholder in last year's UFF, and he came down. He flew down to San Francisco because we're from up in Canada, and he had such a great time. And he came back and told us all these stories, and was talking about all the films he'd seen. And I had just finished main production on Trial.doc, and when he saw the first draft edit, he was like, "You have to finish this and show it to these guys. Like they're gonna be down for it. This is like the film for this festival." And so he really showed me the path there, and kind of kept the spirit alive. And so by the time I finished the full editing and I sent it off, I was like, hopefully he knows them, as well as he seemed kind of uh, uh impassioned with. And yeah, it worked out. I was honestly, I feel like every acceptance I get, even at this point, I've had a few shorts, and they've been in a few mostly indie festivals, but here and there, I think UFF is probably the biggest festival I've gotten into so far. But every acceptance I get is it's always a surprise. It's like I'm always shocked every time. So yeah, this is just great. I'm so excited. And this is the first time I've ever been, like, I'm coming down to San Francisco tomorrow. We're gonna be taking the flight, and I'm so excited to get to be in this space and be with the people and talk about all these films and see all these films, and to be, a part of it, to be involved. That means, yeah, it just means a lot.
I'm so jealous. I wish I could make it, but
You're
unfortunately,
not gonna be there.
no, the timing is too short. That's why I'm doing all this virtual enjoyment. So this is
Oh,
my
that
my IV, so I don't commit
yeah, your
heresy on myself.
lifeline. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we'll miss you. We'll miss you. I would have loved to see you.
let's take a look at the schedule of what's on your schedule
Mm,
over at the Unnamed Footage Festival website.
the website's so cool.
We have this beautiful calendar. Oofy's in the corner, waving his hand menacingly at us, beckoning us to come and watch these sweet found footage movies. And here we go. On Friday, the 28th, Trial.doc is screening with What I Remember at the Balboa Theater at 3:05. That
Mm.
is the place to be. Are you bringing any like merch or anything? Like, some
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. I think that, technically, we are bringing a couple of Evan. He's coming with me, and he has made some hard copy DVD
ooh.
dual videos of Trial.doc and Beholder, his short, and the short he did with Tom Pardo, who is his collaborator on that. And so we're having, it's not really merch. We're not, we don't have a table. We're not like selling them that way, but we're bringing them. We have, I think, about 12 copies. So, we're,
Trial.doc will be on the big screen. Let's take a look at the trailer.
oh my God, I didn't even know
I
they
wouldn't
had a
call
movie.
myself a
That's
survivor. I didn't survive that incident.
And where?
Whoa, no, I don't want to see Fluffy Goes to India.
Are you sure? Might be fun.
That
Could be
was the
great.
trailer. I'm sure it's very fun. Uh, that was the trail for Trial.doc, March 28th at 3:05. You can watch it with What I Remember. Zeddy will be there. If they get through customs, they will be there.
Yeah, we're giving it our best shot.
So you're a Canadian?
Yeah, I'm a Canadian. Yeah, I'm from Toronto.
Congratulations on your good fortune. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. I really do. I have a lot of friends in the States. I come and visit the States every year at least once, and so, I know the differences between our two countries, and I do feel very lucky to be where I am.
how did you find your way into filmmaking? What gave you the bug?
That's a good question. Well, I have a background in visual art. I was an illustrator and a graphic designer for a long number of years. And I was an actor. Acting was really, really big, and I'm still an actor. I mean, I'm in Trial.doc. I'm in my own movie. But I'm also in other people's films. And so I was into acting, and I had done a lot of theater, and I had done live music. I was in a band and stuff like that. Um, and I ended up, yeah, running into an old high school acquaintance who was making a feature film, and he really liked my vibe, and he wrote a character for it, and I ended up on day one of shooting that film, breaking 4 bones in my feet.
Whoa.
Um, and so that, ended that, uh, moment. But I had just loved that one day so much. I loved that one day of being on the set
What were
and
you
being
doing
with
in
these.
this movie? Were you fighting orcs like Viggo Mortensen? Or in Lord of the Rings?
I
Like,
mean,
how do you
the
break a bone?
tragedy is that they didn't even catch it on camera, you know? No, it was the silliest things, I've never broken a bone before or after. Um, my character was just very excitable, had a lot of energy, and would be like running around and jumping off stuff and crawling up walls and shit, and that's what I was kind of doing. And in between takes, the director would kind of like, he would, we would be joking around and we'd point at stuff and maybe try jumping off that and have fun, right? Like it was just everybody had a lot of energy and we were just feeling really good. And I just we were in this park and I ran down this pathway and there was one of these, it wasn't even a fence. It was like 3 feet tall. It wasn't like I climbed anything. It was a little barrier to stop cars from going into the lane, I guess. And I jumped over it and I landed wrong. Like it wasn't the height, it wasn't anything. It was just my foot hit the pavement in a way that it wasn't supposed to. And then
So what did this
four
teach you about your
bones.
character?
Well, the character got rewritten so somebody else could play
No!
them. Yeah.
No!
Yeah, it was kind of integral. They had written all these scenes, about a lot of moving and a lot of running, and that was like a part of the. So they sat for 2 days on it and they tried to rewrite it to fit me in there, but I was on crutches and they were like,
This
we
is a missed
can't.
opportunity. You were obviously just method acting, and they should have
I was really in it. I was really in
followed through.
it. But it was a great film. I got to see it when it came out a couple of years later, and it was awesome. They called me back for some bit parts in it, as because we had a good relationship. We were buddies. And they had me do some art for the film. I met because at the time I was an illustrator graphic designer, so the DVD box or the Blu-ray box case is my art. Like I did the poster for it. They
Cool.
got me involved in all of these other ways to
You
kind of
still
make
had a
up for it. It was really
presence.
kind. Yeah, it was really nice. There was no hard feelings there at all, and they got me on other projects later. Like it was very much a kind of like a tragedy that nobody could really do anything about. But I just that was it for me. I was like I had that one day of being on set, and I was like I can't leave. Like I love that shit. Like even though I broke my bones, and I still want to be a part of this, and then it just got me into thinking like, I've been illustrating, I've been doing all these comics, I've been doing all this other visual storytelling, and I like music, I like audio storytelling. Like that's what film is. It's just combining these different mediums together. So I want to do that actually. I grew up like loving television, loving shows, loving movies. I was, obviously really, really into art of all kinds. And so, after that, I was like, I don't just want to be an actor. I also want to be able to make my own films. And, I think a great thing about being a filmmaker is that if you're making films, at some point you're going to be on set with somebody and they need somebody to play like a creature or like a dying guy or something. And like if you're also an actor, you can say, yeah, I'll just do it, and you hop in. So I still get to act, through being a filmmaker, and I still get to make all the cool art that I can't make it. I can't draw anymore because I have an injury, a nerve damage, and so I can draw a little bit, but not like career wise, not with the kind of storytelling I used to be doing. But filmmaking has just taken up all that space. Like I actually don't. It doesn't feel like a loss to me that I can't draw the same way anymore because all the stories I want to make in my head, I can figure out a way to make them into film, and yeah, it's just I love it so much now.
Do you like storyboard before you film, or is it a
I do a little, yeah. I definitely, being an artist beforehand, I totally see the way that it plays into the art now. Like depending on the complexity of the shoot, I'll storyboard. I didn't do any storyboards for Trial.doc. It wasn't my kind of thing that needed a storyboard, but the film I did previously to that, I storyboarded the whole thing and gave it to my cinematographer, and we talked about it. So yeah, it's involved still, the illustration process. I just can't do it as a career. I can't,
yeah?
yeah.
I get it. So what was pre-production like for Trial.doc? How long does it take to before you start shooting?
Oh my gosh, the whole film, like up to the first cut, the first edit of it, was done in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
yeah, it was a little insane. My friend I've mentioned before, Evan Churchill, he was having a kind of just like a birthday screening of we have a lot of friends who are filmmakers, and he wanted to have an event where all of his friends who had made these films would get to screen something in front of each other, because by that point, a lot of us hadn't gotten the chance to see each other's films. And so it was a great idea. And I just got it in my head that I was like, I'm not only going to show a film I've already made, I'm going to make a whole film for this thing, And I lit the fire under my ass at the same time, in the same like time frame, like a week before. I was also directing another friend of mine, Juliana Romanek. She had written and produced a short called Scarred, which played last year at Sudbury Indie Creature Con and got a lot of praise over there. It was really great. And I got to direct that, which was great. But it was like I directed hers and then immediately went into pre-production for Trial.doc like in the same week. And it was great. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like the making of this film, the production itself was one of the highlights. Like, it was so much fun. I had such a good, like, really, really, really good group of people, good crew, people who were really they got on my level. They were excited about working with me on something, especially that I had to be a little bit, I don't want to say cagey, but I didn't this wasn't the type of film, because of the nature of its content. I didn't want to have everybody really be kind of like simmering in the content of it in the weeks leading up to the production, because that's kind of a lot. Um, and so there were parts of it that I kind of voided out. I kind of only, my AD was the only person who got the full script of it. Everybody else kind of got an edited script where there was a lot of the dialogue was completely blacked out, and they just saw the first line of a sentence and the last line of the paragraph. I let people know what the content was about. I didn't want to have people working on something that they didn't know. I mean, that was in the crew call. I let them know all about that. But I just, there were choices that I made, um, around, what was necessary information that each person needed to know. But I think the craziest part about it was that we built I mean, I guess this is spoilers. Are we allowed to talk about spoilers at this point, or should I wait on
Hey,
that one?
let's hold let's put
We'll
a
hold it on. Okay, yeah.
on
Well,
on
I
on the second
I
act. Yeah.
yeah, in the second I'll just say I built something about for the film in my room, and I built it the day and the night before the shoot.
Wow.
My props guy. Oh my gosh, what's Luke Peters, incredible props fellow in Toronto, and he's also a director in his own right. And he came on and helped me with some of the ways the functioning of the thing we were building, and it assisted me. I wouldn't have finished it without him, really, especially in time for the shoot. But just the way that the timeline rolled up, it was literally the day before I built this thing. And then my room, because I built it in my room, it was, attached to the floor. It was like stunk up with fumes. Like, I couldn't sleep here that night. I had to find another room. I had to couch surf, because it was like not like I would have died if I had slept in this room with that thing. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I remember it was like 5 a.m. and I had been working on it, and I was in kind of a rough shape, because when you're going at something for so long that you can't even fully really see it anymore, and all you can think about is like, fuck, have I completely fucked myself? All these people are coming tomorrow to make me shoot this thing, and I haven't, this doesn't look good. It's not gonna work, and I'm kind of bummed on myself. And then my roommate and her boyfriend got home, and they peeked in and they saw it. They're like, "Oh my god, this looks incredible! This is so awesome! This is like, oh my!" And they all, they're seeing it, they're checking it out, and it was like, suddenly I realized that I was way too in my own head, and I was really only looking at it from this very, like, overworked and tired perspective. But when anybody else who was on the outside who was seeing it for the first time was really pumped about it. And I remember it felt like I came back to life there, and I just got so excited for the rest of the day. And then I slept for 3 hours, and then I woke up and everybody was in my home, and we, spent, I think it was like solid proper 12-hour shoot.
Well,
It was just great. It was really, really wonderful.
whoa, that sounds like a lot of hard work. Definitely way more work than I put into Toy Vlog Hunt. Definitely, 100%. Um, so if it only takes 2 weeks to write it and to cast it and to secure your own residence as the location and bring on people as crew, how long did you give yourself for editing? A day and a half? Like what did you
Oh
do?
my gosh. Well, that was that was actually the place that was the most breakdown of the whole thing. So I gave myself 5 days to edit it, which I felt, should have been enough, but unfortunately, I mean, I needed 1 day to sleep. It turned out after doing all that. But it turned out that my tech was just in disrepair. Everything was falling apart. So when I was editing the first edit, um it was painful actually. It was kind of misery, especially in comparison to this wonderful shoot that I had just come off with all these people that I was feeling, so good about, and then sitting down and um the tech was just fighting me every step of the way. So it was like I there was stuff that I wanted to do throughout the entire film that I could only do for 30 seconds of the entire film because it took me like 12 hours to do that 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't going to be feasible, just because of the way that the tech had kind of was at that point. And so I made a very rough cut, a cut that was more like a cut edit. So, all the sound synced up and all the,
Mm-hmm.
it was the actual clips were in their right place and everything. But the editing that I wanted to do in regards to the censor bar, and I had, from the beginning, the subtitles that I wanted to add, and there was all these like extra little bits, flavors and seasonings that I wanted to do that it just I wasn't able to. And so that first screening, I was so miserable because I think a part of it too is that the film's themes do involve to a certain extent shame, right? And if you make a piece of art about trauma and about shame and about the conflict of trying to uh, stop yourself from expressing this thing that you're ashamed of, and then you've casted yourself as the character, and then you're watching yourself in this position, it was so easy for me to like just hate it, like absolutely hate it toe to tip. And I was so, and then to show it to people, it was like the worst. It was the worst. I was in pain that night. I was really like, this sucks. I am, it's possible. Like the only reason I'm going to try to finish editing this is because so many lovely people worked on this with me. And I really do want to make something that they can, see in the end and be proud of. But I'm really, I don't know, I'm in this bad place about it. And now I was very lucky because the people who I was showing it to were all, friends and people with a lot of love in their hearts. And, you know, some even got some out of that version of the cut. But Evan Churchill, who I've mentioned here a few times, he watched it, and even though the edit wasn't complete in the way that I had kind of envisioned it, um, he completely understood what I was trying to do with it. And he told me his take on the movie, and it was, in one sentence, he summed up exactly what I was trying to do with the edit, that I could only give a little, taste of in that version of it. And that just made me feel so much like, okay, so it is readable, like it is possible. Like I haven't completely screwed this all up. The vision, the idea that I had at the beginning, it is workable. Just because this edit isn't the best version of it, this guy who I really respect and who is really into this media, he can see the story here, not everybody can, but he's able to. And so there's something worth it here. I will finish this movie and I'm going to be proud of it by the end if it fucking kills me. And so after that, I took a month or two off from it. It was important to kind of step away and, because there's no point in slamming your head against something that's making you that angry and that self-hating. I needed to process what I had kind of brought up with all the material there, and then came back to it and did another edit, and then that finished in the summer, and then by December I finished the subtitle edit, which included um yeah, all the bits of little embellishments. But once I got my tech running again and I came back to it in the summer, oh my gosh, it was like, it felt like taking a warm shower, like it was after like a load, like just falling off of you, because it when the tech works and it's like you click the button and it does the thing that it's supposed to do the way that you wanted it to do it, it's like butter. It's beautiful. I had so much fun during that second edit. I felt so good, and I remember that was when I came up with the title for the film, because it had a working title before that. But I was sitting there, I think also because I had taken that break and I had kind of removed myself from it. Coming back to it, I was able to look at the character and not really see me, whereas before it was like all I could see was myself because I played the character. So any amount of self-hatred that I had for myself ended up being imposed onto the film, whereas taking a break and stepping back, I didn't see the character as me anymore. I just saw it as, that's a character played by an actor. Like, I don't need to superimpose. I was partway through editing it, that second edit, at like 2 a.m. or something, and I just mumbled to myself. I was like, wow, what a trial this whole thing has been. Like, I really, every step of it, it's like I've made a little trial for myself. And I was like, that's the name of the movie, that's it. I was like, trial, but like, and then it just hit. I was like, Trial.doc. There's something kind of like, I don't know. I really like the mouth sound of it, to say it that way. Trial.doc. There's this little hop at the end, and it felt like it suited the whole thing, and it suited the found footage genre, and it made sense in the film as well, So yeah, the editing was its own component to the whole thing, but it was an adventure. I learned a lot.
The audio and the editing and the graphics all feel like they were done like microscopically. Like you went like second by second, frame by frame. Each frame is like calculated and visually designed. And I kudos to you, because it is a very, very interesting experience to go through, to watch it, and I'm excited to see the reaction that it receives in San Francisco at Unnamed Footage Festival.
I really appreciate that. It's so wonderful to hear. I put a lot into it, and that means a lot. I appreciate it.
When this is from a technical level question,
Mm.
because I also starred in my short film. Did
Yes, yeah.
you check like every single take on that 12-hour day, the day of? Did you watch back every take?
No, no, that's never been my way when I'm directing or acting, especially not acting. I mean, but I am I was directing and acting at it, but I didn't watch every single take. What I did was I had a cinematographer, Taylor King, who I really, really trusted. I had just worked with him a couple months before on a mutual a mutual friend of ours film, and he's incredible. He's such an intuitive cinematographer, and he gets the job done, so spectacularly. Any problem that you have, it's like he thinks for a second and then he's got it, and you're smooth sailing. He's a really, really talented guy, and I knew that the crew that I was calling, on board, and that I had, were all people who I trusted very, very deeply with each of their work. I trusted the AD, DC, Doja, who she's had, she's a director in her own right. She makes some really, really cool films. Her films have been on the circuit the last year, and it's, she's won awards. She's really incredible. So I had this really strong crew, and I think as a director, ultimately, if you're working with people, it should be people who you trust, and you should let them do their job ultimately. And so, when it came to those takes, there were points where it was like, oh, can I just double check that one section? Or, did we, I might check the first frame and the final frame, or, oh, can I just see that one moment, just where that shift happened? Can I take a look at that? But besides that, I wasn't rewatching the takes because basically the dialogue that's in the film is the dialogue I wrote. It's I memorized it um almost exactly. And so DC as the AD was checking to make sure that we were getting all of the dialogue that was in there. And we did a couple of takes of every section to make sure, for myself that there was some variation in kind of how I was uh, you know, uh, acting and performing the different moments and being. Um, and so for the most part, it was really like, oh, can I just see that one moment in that one take, and then let me see it again in the second take, but not, okay, show me the whole take and we're going through it, right? It just didn't seem, for one, it takes a lot of time. It takes double the time, right? Can't do it that way. And for another thing, yeah, I'm working with really, really talented people who I trust, and I know that they understood the film up to that point. I had productions meetings with them. I had the back and forth with them. They understood what I was looking for and what we were trying to make. And so when there was something that didn't really work, or if it was kind of too similar to the last take or something, they let me know. We had that conversation. But yeah, I think in a different circumstance, like the first film I ever made was a music video, and I shot that almost entirely by myself, and I was also the actor in it. And that was when it's just you as the actor and you're holding the camera and you're the director, like, of course you got to rewatch the footage. Of course you got, but I had people there. I had people with me, and that makes all the difference. So
That's awesome. Did was there any other movies that like already existed that you could point to that you would be like, this is like the vibe, or this is like sort of the style, or like where, like, I don't know
mm.
like, I know what concoction of things lead someone to making a toy vlogs hunt, but I don't understand what film diet I get to make a Trial.doc.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good question. If you can give me a minute just to think on it.
Maybe it's the comic book background and all that the visual arts, because at times the movie does feel like it could be like I could see it as like an art piece in a museum where like the movie's
Mm.
playing, and then your third act big prop is there, and like things are happening, and the different things in different rooms. Like I could see that sort of exhibit existing.
Yeah, that's actually a good like, yeah, a good take to bring up, because I think that for myself, I'm really drawn to fantasy realism. Like, it's just the way that I see the world already naturally. And so integrating it into film, I mentioned before, I have a theater background, and so I love practicals, I love puppets, I love models, I love, yeah, doing getting gooey with it in the physical. um I think honestly, and it comes to in inspirations as a whole, or things, it really, yeah, I don't know, I really just, I love the era of art we're in with new media, and you know, the ways in which we're seeing all this convalescence of like, you know, shows that people grew up with and YouTube channels that people are watching and documentaries from decades ago and you know, indie produced documentaries that are coming out this year. And we're just getting all of this incredible art, and some of it's, you know, trashy, but then it's mixed together with chaotic weird shit and, you know, super low budget high art house stuff, and then super high budget like weird, you know, we're just getting such an incredible mismatch, a charcuterie board of fantastic art in this era that we're in. And I I just felt like I could make, like, what I was going to make was something that I don't want to say is a product of its time, but uh uh lives where we're at now, you know, lives in
The present.
the present in this era where like you are allowed to meld and have things bleed in ways that yeah, just you know, might have been snubbed before, might have been too confusing, or artistic literacy wouldn't have been as diverse and as chaotic as I think it is now. And yeah, I saw it in my head. I knew what I wanted to make, and I made it. I think it's likely that, probably like you said, you know, my comics background, you know, this is almost like a talking head for a major part of it. Trial.doc, it's just kind of a talking head. Um, but if anything comes up for me, you know, in our conversation that really speaks out, because you know, I wonder if there's just something I'm forgetting about, and I wanna pay my dues, you know, if there is something that I was really thinking about, I don't want to be like, yeah, it's all original, man. Like, you know, if there was something, I want to make sure that I'm giving it its proper way. But it might just be one of those things where, yeah, everything I've ever watched, you know, all the things I've ever loved just end up kind of in your art, right?
Yeah,
Just
somehow
ends up a party.
it does, and it's weird, and sometimes it's you know, it's you're giving people too much information about yourself, and sometimes you're you know, just being honest, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that way, like, at minimum, I can say, you know, I obviously was thinking about like interview, like real, you know, almost true crime, or interviews with I when I was like 12 or something, I came into my church community center, and there was they were playing the Banksy movie, was it Exit at the Gift Shop?
Yeah, exit through the gift
And
shop.
Exit through the gift shop, and it, I don't know if it was him they were interviewing or if it was a different graffiti artist, but it's like you don't see his face and they've lowered his voice. And I remember like that being like the first time that I got to see that being done in real life, like not in a cartoon, you know, parodying that, but just actually, you know, blocking out someone's face and lowering their voice so that we don't know who they are. And that definitely flashed into my mind while I was conceiving of Trial.doc, you know, and just that idea.
That's a chromosome we've identified, definitely.
Yeah, we found one. We found one. Maybe
Yeah. That's
yeah.
awesome. I was actually just on a trip to England, and I was like so blown away when I left the museum, and I literally had to exit through the gift shop, and I'm like, okay, that's why he said it, because they
Yeah.
turned every museum into this, you know, Disneyland-esque structure.
Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, even here in Toronto, we have the AGO, the Art Gallery of Ontario, and it's, you will exit through the gift shop, and I think about it every time. It's true. So I didn't even watch that entire movie, but it left obviously some kind of impression upon me.
Okay, let's get into some spoilers. It's a trope. It's been done, you know. I think
It's
that
been done. There's, yeah,
you
there's other films that do it really well, you know, and I don't need to do it. I'm not interested in doing things other people have done as much as I can. Able to talk about these things as they are, like just as they truly are, and directly. It's like we have to put asterisks, and we have to make different words, and we have to say, you know, corn instead of porn, and we just, I don't know, like
we shouldn't have to
to me,
sugarcoat, you know,
you shouldn't
everything.
have to, yeah, we should.
Is there anything you want to plug before we close things out?
Oh gosh. Sure. I guess I'm Zedric Zedward on Instagram. But specifically I'm part of a film collective here in Toronto, Femur Dreams. And they have an Instagram and I highly recommend checking out us there. So that's FEMUR.DREAMS. I almost forgot how to
There
spell
will
that.
be a link on the blog post. Don't worry about it.
Incredible. Yeah, that collective is really awesome, and we're a group making films together, and so there's new stuff kind of coming out throughout the year, and you'll see a lot of neat things, and see some of my collaborators and the people who I really admire, and some of the people who got to work on my film. So yeah, I recommend checking it out.
That's badass. I March. Where were we? Hold on. One last
Oh
plug.
yeah. Oh yeah.
March 28th, Friday, 3:05 p.m. The Balboa Theater. What I Remember and Trial.doc is the place to be. And there
Yeah.
may or may not be someone with a trench coat full of combo DVDs.
Combo DVDs.
I
Hit
don't
me
know.
up if are interested.
I don't
May
know.
or may not. We'll see. But definitely, and the festival itself. I can't believe that I let this out. But like, yeah, the if you can make it out to my film, to Alex Hera, who what I remember, I'm playing before that. If you can make it out to any of the other films or any of the festival, it looks incredible. I'm over the wall. And yeah, if you see me in my trench coat, hit me up, and there's possibly something there.
Um, they have been Zeddy Chevron. I have been Steven.
Hail Thunder. Hail Thunder.
Vundacast? Give it
Yeah.
up for Vundacast, man. What an adorable name.
You're listening to the Vundacast.
What's up, everybody? This is Jason David Frank, Green Ranger. You're listening to Vundacast.
You can find it at Vundacast, and I know they love Effie.
I'd like to close this out by urging everyone to go over to Vundablog.com, and you'll see on all of our recent podcasts, and once I post this up there, there will be a link to D-Rock's Patreon account for ad infinitum.
Oh, why'd you start linking my Patreon exactly when I stopped updating?
Oh no! Never mind! You can also...
No, I'm gonna update it soon, I am. Because Halloween-a-thon's almost over. I've been busy with Halloween-a-thon, so... Sorry, everybody.
Also support the Ringing Rocks roller rink and their GoFundMe to improve their local facility. You can check us out at Vundacast on TikTok and on Twitter. And thank you for joining us on YouTube.
Subscribe to the Vundacast.